In this video today, we're going to be taking a look at the Behringer UMC1820, and after a whole year of owning this audio interface, I'm going to give you my review. If that's something you're interested in, stay tuned. Hey, what's up? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome back to another video. If you're new around here, I'm Ben Rowlands, and this channel is all about live looping. Upload 3 videos just like this every single week. So if that's something you're interested in, consider subscribing. Now, in today's video, I want to take a look at the Behringer UMC1820 audio interface. So I bought this audio interface around a year ago, and I've been pretty pleased with its overall performance. I was in the marketplace looking for an audio interface that I could rack mount into my live rig and basically run it with Ableton Live, because I don't personally run a traditional mixer. I run an audio interface to my laptop, which is running Ableton Live, and then Ableton Live is like my virtual mixing interface that I can route everything in a little bit more easier than an analog sort of digital mixer thing that's super expensive and a bit complicated. So I needed a cheap solution, something I could throw into a rack mount. If it got knocked out on the road, I wasn't going to be too devastated because it was only a couple of £100 as opposed to the £1,000 region with some of these audio interfaces can get to. So this audio interface comes in a variety of different configurations. It goes all the way from a single input audio interface to like a 2 input, and then there's like a 4 input, and then finally there is this big bad boy here, which is an 8 input. So depending on what your needs are for your music production or podcast, whatever you need an audio interface for, you can get the required one in the variety of tiers, and they're all super well priced. This one here for an 8 input audio interface, it was £166 when I bought this last year. So let's get a little bit nerdy and talk about the specifications on this audio interface. So it comes with 8 mid-ass preamps. Now you're maybe thinking, Ben, what does that mean? What's a mid-ass preamp? And I thought the same. When I was researching this audio interface, Behringer were like, comes with 8 mid-ass preamps. And I was like, whoa, it comes with 8 mid-ass preamps. Well, what is a mid-ass preamp? Well, basically, it's kind of just like an industry standard high quality preamp. So you're gonna get pretty good audio quality out of this audio interface. If you wanna hear this audio interface in action, check out my playlist over here of all of my live performances where I'm running this exact audio interface for all of my audio recordings. So not only do we get some super high quality preamps on the unit, we also get a ton of options on the back. So we get up to 12 built-in outputs for routing the audio from the audio interface to different devices. So we have our standard TRS main out here, but then we also have a ton of sub outs that we can route to like headphones. But we also have these MIDI in and MIDI out, so we can clock sync to external devices. We can send the information from our laptop to external MIDI devices, and likewise we can send clock data from external devices into our audio interface and then into our DAW. So I've been using this feature all the time, and you can actually see some tutorials where I'm using it over here. But also on the back are these SPDIF connections. So these SPDIF connections on the back of the audio interface allow us to expand the amount of inputs and outputs available on the device, because you may be thinking this is called the UMC1820. So I'm assuming that's going to be 18 inputs and 20 outputs. However, Ben, you've only shown me like 8 inputs and like 12 outputs. So where's the rest of them? And this is where we would utilize the SPDIF connections. So on Behringer's website, they say you can buy an additional rack mount unit, which is an expansion 1U rack mount, and you can put it underneath this one, connect them together using the SPDIF connections, and then that will unlock the additional inputs and outputs that are available to run on this device. Now, the reason why this audio interface is so cheap is because it's running USB 2.0, and at the moment we've got USB 3.0, 3.1, USB Type-C. So this generation of USB 2.0 is kind of dated technology and on its way out. But with that said, the performance of this audio interface blew me away. If someone said to me, like a blindfold test, this is a USB 3.0 audio interface, it's some of the latest, fastest tech, I'd be like, great, I'll buy it for £400. This is the best audio interface I've ever used. To be honest, I could not tell the difference between some of my fancier audio interfaces I've used in the past and this one. Latency was more than adequate and the performance and reliability was absolutely excellent. By the way, if you're getting any value from today's video, please consider leaving me a like. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing, because I had to take my entire live looping rig to bits in order to get this audio interface out of the rack mount so I could wave it around like this and get all animated. So be sure to like, subscribe, it would make my day. So for all of you who want to run this audio interface in a studio environment, you'll be pleased to know you can turn phantom power on to the preamp. So that means you can use your fancy condenser microphones to their full potential. However, it doesn't work as seamless as I hoped it would. So for example, on a majority of audio interfaces, if you want to put phantom power onto one of the inputs, you literally would plug your microphone into input 1 and then you would click the button on input 1 to turn phantom power on. However, with the Behringer, it does them in groups. So if I want phantom power on, it's going to, and I switch the button on, it's going to apply it on inputs 1 through to 4. So it's going to apply it on all 4 of those inputs. And then second is if I want it on the rest of them, it's going to apply it onto groups 5 through to 8. Now this could be a problem if you're recording like a full live band, for example. You know, you might only have one condenser microphone that needs phantom power, but it's going to apply phantom power to 4 of the inputs on your audio interface, which isn't really ideal for the other instruments that don't require it, and you're going to start to run into a few issues. So my next con is with the layout of the actual audio interface, and this is such a minor detail, and I understand why they've done it, but for example, I don't like the inputs 1 and 2 being on the front of the interface. Now I've seen some manufacturers create these 1U rack mount audio interfaces, and they've managed to fit all of the inputs on the back of the audio interface. Now I know that that then comes at the expense of the amount of audio out options that we can have on the back here, but I would personally prefer to sacrifice a couple of routing out options to situate these on the back of the interface, because the problem is I have this in my live looping rig, which is on stage around here, like it's about at this height while I'm performing. So then when I turn over to play keyboards on my rig or whatever, I have my guitar bump into the XLR jacks that are plugged into inputs 1 and 2 for my amplifiers and things. So then it means I almost catch myself all the time on the 2 inputs that are sticking out, obtrusive on the front of the unit. So I would love it if I could have plugged everything into the back and not had this issue. Now there's a few things that I absolutely love about this Behringer rack mount interface. First off is the build quality. I have literally 0 complaints about how this thing is built. It's also pretty decent weight, which indicates it's high quality. So it's 1.8 kilograms, so it's not too heavy. So if you wanted to chuck it in your backpack and you were maybe like a touring musician, but you like to practice in your hotel room and record some songs and things and have a little bit of fun in the evenings, this is absolutely perfect. Next thing's the aesthetic. This thing looks beautiful with the black finish. It looks so stealthy and sleek when it's in your rack mount. You look pretty serious, like you know what you're doing when this is with all your other equipment. So if we take a look at the front of the I/O of the audio interface, we've got our gain knobs so we can set how strong the signal strength is to the accordion preamp. Then above that you have some LEDs. When it's plugged in, they'll flash red if it's clipping or green if it's okay. It gives us a little bit of indication of how our signal is being inputted. And then above that we have our pad options and also our instrument and line options. So what the pad option allows us to do is, let's say we've plugged something in and the signal strength is super hot and it's clipping our preamp, it's flashing red, it sounds distorted, and it's just not ideal. We can put pad on, we'll click the button in, and then it'll allow us to reduce that signal strength by, I think it's minus 12 dB, something like that, and it's going to make it a little bit more manageable, and then we can set the gain more accordingly. And then we also have the option for line and instrument. So line and instrument basically allows us to make the preamp accept the signal we are inputting just a little bit better. So obviously instrument is for if you plug in a bass guitar or electric guitar in directly, we'll set it to instrument. And then if we're plugging in our phone and we're gonna play some MP3s, we'll chuck it into line mode and it's just going to accept the signals that much better. Now to conclude, I would definitely recommend the Behringer UMC1820. Me personally, I think it's the best budget audio interface available in the marketplace. Yes, it is a little bit dated with its USB 2.0 hardware, and you could get something way more stylish and fancier with the new USB Type-C connectors. But for those audio interfaces being about £400, this one being nearer to £180, I would go for the £180 option any day. Now, if you are going to buy this audio interface, you've got to be absolutely on it because it goes out of stock so quickly. Because it's such great value for money, it literally is in stock for 1 week each month. I was so surprised when I was ordering it, when I was looking at all the online distributors that I wanted to potentially buy it from. Literally, it would have the estimated ship date when it would arrive, and then within that first week, the 3 to 4 units each of the distributors were stocking would just slowly tick away. And if you didn't pile in soon enough, then you'd have to wait for the next shipment in the next up and coming month. So do keep that in mind. If you want it relatively quickly, you might have to potentially wait 1 to 2 months for it to come back in stock. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. Consider subscribing and also smash that like button. We're doing this 3 times every single week, so if you don't want to miss a video, also turn on that notification bell. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.